So I want to congratulate you for coming to the most important session in all of the South Summit, because this session is about longevity, and even better, it is about immortality. Immortality. So all of you who are here are guaranteed to be immortal if you stay until the end. So we have three incredible people that have arrived from three different parts of the world. And so I want to ask each one of them to introduce themselves and their companies, because they have three incredible companies that you have to check. First, Bruno, Anybiome.ai, important AI, artificial intelligence. Then Mike will be talking about his company, which is humanity.health. And then Liz Parrish and her company, bioviva-science.com. Three incredible companies from different parts of the world. And so let's begin each one introducing a couple of minutes. Bruno.
Thank you, dear professor. It's really my honor to be here with you. And we are Anybiome, and we are redefining health. Our approach to longevity is a bit different. It's not about living longer, but it's about changing the biochemistry that we have now. So we are more inspired, we are more creative, we are more healthy, we are more vital. And then a longer life is only a consequence. We do it by combining cutting-edge AI technology, but also the oldest biotechnology in the world. And that is fermentation, that is with us already for tens of millions of years. And we combine it with help of machine learning in order to redesign our biology.
Beautiful. So now from Bruno, who is originally from Croatia, but like all of us, he's a world citizen that happened to be born in Croatia. By the way, I happened to be born in Venezuela, but that's another story. So now let's go into the USA, but based in London. Mike, tell us about you and Humanity.
Sure. Yeah, so Humanity is an app, if you have an iPhone, you can use it right now, is an app that you can use to monitor your rate of aging, and then it guides you to slow it down. It's a navigation app for your health. I wanted to be an astronaut. Haven't gone there yet, but we can all buy our tickets one of these days, right? And did aerospace in school, but then was obsessed with the other side of the space program, which was Russia. Went over there, met a guy, and we ended up creating what became the largest dating site in the world at the time, called Badoo. Got quite large here in Spain, although the younger people in the crowd probably don't know it anymore. But for better or for worse, started the whole Tinder-esque thing. So you either hate me or love me. But had a family member find out quite late stage about cancer, right around the time I was leaving Badoo, stage 4, and that kind of threw me for a loop. You feel all powerful, and you can't do anything to help this person next to you. And I'm sure there's people in the audience have experienced that. So I started really hunting down, how we can actually, be less helpless. And one of the things I finally came across, and coming across great people like Liz and Jose, was basically that you could measure something better than early detection of disease. You could actually measure the whole body moving towards disease. People call it biological age. And so we built Humanity to allow you to do that and actually start doing something today about it.
Fantastic, Mike. And now let's move to the west coast of the USA. And Liz, you look beautiful, even though you have a lot of jet lag. But tell us about you and about BioViva.
Sure. So my company is BioViva, and we're committed to extending your healthy lifespan and your lifespan through gene therapy. So our gene candidates are human genes that are associated with longer and healthier lifespans in model organisms. My journey started very similar to my neighbor Mike here, with a diagnosis in the family. My son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I had already spent 2 years in the regenerative medicine space, and I didn't understand why the technology wasn't translating faster to humans. So I went looking for cures for kids, and I found the aging research space. Every gene that my company chooses as a research candidate is a gene that will also help cure a childhood disease. And we can not only help these kids live longer, but then not just live for a couple more decades before they start dying of the diseases of aging. So I think aging is a disease. I've treated my own disease with gene therapy, and I will continue to do so.
Beautiful. You said something very important, that aging can be considered a disease. So quickly, what do you think? Yes or no?
Yes, 100%.
Mike?
Yes, but I'm very pragmatic, so maybe it's better if it's not, but you know, whatever gets us there faster.
Fantastic. Let's ask the public. Who believes that aging is a disease but curable? Beautiful. And who believes it is not a disease? Okay, not too many. So anyway, we will convince you by the end of the day. Let's talk about the incredible advance that is happening right now in longevity science. So what are the 2 or 3 most interesting things that you see happening in the future in the next 5 to 10 years? 2 or 3 things. Bruno.
Yeah, what I see, it's a unique time now that we have actually intersection of quantum computing, AI, and longevity as industries. Those are all new disrupting industries that can exponentially change humanity. And when they merge together, they can be the biggest opportunity for humanity altogether. Humanity, pun intended. So what I'm really looking forward is that actually we start going deep into consciousness to understand who we are, not just how we feel and just continue with this way because it's not sustainable. What we need to do is go on level of microbes. We need to think about the soil, about the microbes within us, and we need to co-create with our gut feeling, with microbes, with the help of AI, to understand it better. So only with AI we can understand the microbes within our body. And I think it will change us as humanity. I call it Homo infinitus, and I hope that we will evolve, and then that we will live in the world of abundance as we could.
Beautiful. And you, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we focus on a lot, because as we started to on this journey of coming up with the idea for humanity and just understanding what was possible, all the amazing scientists that we found along the way were basically, they were spending 90% of their time trying to collect data. So every big name that you can find in the longevity space or really in the science space, they were just spending all their time and money collecting the data, and then only 10% of their time actually, having the big breakthrough that actually would, save our lives. And so one of the biggest things I can see happening, because everybody now, everybody in the audience understands how powerful AI is now. You have an hour with ChatGPT, you understand, give it data, it will do magical things. And so what we need to do now is actually just open up more of that data. And we actually have technology now that allows us to keep the data private. So today we do a lot of non-private stuff with data, even in the healthcare system. You anonymize it, you send it off somewhere. Actually keep all that data private. But we have technology now where you can actually learn from that data. You can train models on it and do federated learning. You can create synthetic data. That's one of the things we're looking at. And so if we can feed the AI more data, which we now have the ability to keep the data private and feed it to the AI, we will figure out everything, right? And so then it's a question of distribution. That's why, people that just make apps, it seems like we have no place in this whole ecosystem, but we know how to get millions of people to use an app and keep using it. That's why we joined. And so once we know exactly what's going to make every single one of you guys healthy and live longer, then we just need to get it out to you, right? And so I think that's what we're going to see over the next 5 years is first, we're going to know everything because we're feeding the data into the AI. And the second thing is we're actually going to start getting it out to everybody. And this doesn't come with a $100,000 cost. This comes with, you can use humanity for free kind of cost, right? So.
That is so important that will be the next question about artificial intelligence. But Liz, let's finish with you about what do you see coming in the next few years and which are the most exciting technologies, therapies?
Oh, so that's really difficult. So I definitely believe with everything that's been said here, and I can expand on that in testing. Testing is growing exponentially, and so are the hallmarks of aging through that testing. One thing to be really excited about outside of sort of this discussion, but what's coming is many of the universities all around the world now are opening up a longevity or aging associated research centers. And that means more exponential growth along with the AI.
Beautiful. And since you talked about the hallmarks of aging, I want to remind the public here, if you are not aware, that the famous paper, the most important paper on longevity, the hallmarks of aging, has 5 authors, 3 out of which are Spanish. I mean, this is incredible. Carlos López Otín, María Blasco, and Manuel Serrano. The three are Spanish. So really the most important paper written by three Spanish scientists. And now let's move into AI, because I just got this incredible present from my friend Ray Kurzweil, who is a friend, a mentor, a professor of mine from MIT. This is his new book coming out next year. He sent me the manuscript to review. And this is The Singularity is Nearer, which is the continuation to his book almost 2 decades ago, The Singularity is Near. He has been making forecasts for half a century, not from yesterday or 1 year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, for half a century. And in this book that you should buy when it comes out next year, he has 2 magic dates, 2 very important dates, and they are 2029 and 2045. And again, he has been talking about this for decades. And in 2029, he says that we will reach longevity escape velocity, sometimes called the Methuselarity, the singularity of Methuselah. And also, we will pass the Alan Turing test in 2029 to 2030. And then in 2045, we will reach the singularity and also immortality through biological rejuvenation. So it doesn't matter how old we are by 2045, because we will have rejuvenation technologies. So my question to all of you, and this book will come out next year. If you have some good comments, I will put them in the book. I'll say, Ray, you know, Mike said that, and Liz said that, and Bruno said that. This is important stuff. So what do you think about those 2 dates, 2029 and 2045?
So Ray was a huge inspiration for all of us, I think. He was my first contact with the longevity field and longevity economy that we are in now. And he is a huge role model, but also I think that it will be more in biology. What he's talking about 2029, I think, are nanobots that will heal us from within. I think that we can achieve it with microbes, that we already have natural nanobots, that we just need to understand them, and with help of AI, use them in precision medicine, and that's what we are trying to do. I'm not sure about longevity escape velocity so soon because of regulation. Maybe technology-wise, yes, but regulation, it will take maybe a couple of years more, not too much. 2045, it seems quite near for such a statement. I believe that we will be able to do a lot of things, but that it will happen exponentially, that somehow we will be able to merge technology and biology, and that we will go towards singularity. Would we have like hive mind completely? I'm not sure, maybe it's too early, but I believe that we will have it more than we do now, and that actually our individual consciousness as we understand it today will be something completely different.
Beautiful consciousness, I like that. And Mike, you are also very much involved in all of these ideas, and you are a pioneer in the last few years on this. So what do you think about 2029, 2045, and in general, about the future?
I mean, whenever I'm given any data or dates, I have like 20 questions on you know, to get to the bottom. But generally, yes, I think it is that soon. I think the biggest thing. So we were all for a little while in this pop-up city, and one of the conversations that we were having there was about jurisdictions and how can we get regulation to allow for these, you know, drugs and therapies to come out quicker. I think one of the things that I really came to over those weeks was that if we actually had a human trial system in 20 years, this will sound really radical, it will seem archaic to us. It will seem, you know, really archaic. It will seem like, you know, going into a Starbucks with a block of gold. We'll be like, why are we putting pills into these poor people when we actually have these, you know, these AI prediction machines that can actually tell us what's going to happen and whether it's going to be safe and whether it's going to be, you know, effective. So I believe in those dates, and that will come from actually us having this win-win of having a human trial system that actually becomes more safe, more effective, because we're moving into this in silico trial stage where we're actually taking in a bunch of data, and then the algorithm says whether this particular person, you know, right now we test it on like 1,000 people and say it's good for 8 billion. It's never going to be a very safe system. This particular person will actually do well if they take this therapy or they take this drug. And so I think when we change that system, which will definitely happen, because otherwise we'll just look extremely like cave person-ish, I think that will be the thing that actually brings Ray's predictions into play.
Beautiful. And Liz, because you are so beautiful and so young, actually we haven't talked about that because you are patient zero with gene therapy for rejuvenation. So maybe you can explain that. Some people might not know that quickly, and then tell me about the dates 2029 and 2045.
Yeah, so in 2015, I started a revolution by taking the first 2 gene therapies to treat biological aging. And I did that because many children and aging people are suffering today. So today, over 110,000 people will die of biological aging. And I think that it's an imperative that these people have access to new medicine. So by 2029, I believe that we will have several drugs in the regulatory system to treat biological aging. They'll all have to be titled as the regulatory system would approve of them. That means for aging-specific diseases and symptoms. But they will, in fact, treat aging on a myriad of levels for everyone. By 2045, those gene therapies will be used as immunizations to keep people from getting biological aging effects. So I think that by 2045, we will have exponential growth and amazing things will be happening. By 2029, though, we will have plenty of human evidence of the gene therapies already that are not even in regulation today, because thanks to medical tourism and investigator-led studies, these technologies are already available in different places of the world. So you're going to see a whole genetic revolution. I am a GMO, and I hope that you join me long before 2045.
Wow, fantastic. And I am taking all these comments and sending them to Ray Kurzweil. So we will improve his book. Talking about books, you have to get it. The Singularity is nearer when it comes out next year. But I want to recommend 2 other books. One that we presented this morning here at the South Summit by the Millennium Project, which is 2050 Work and Technology Scenarios. In this book, published by the Millennium Project, that you can download from the website of the Millennium Project, we have 3 scenarios about the future. In one of those scenarios, we already have biological immortality for everybody. So I recommend this. And also, of course, my book. I don't know if you have seen my tie, but you can see my book. My book actually is coming out in 2 weeks in English. I'm really excited. The Death of Death, and in Chinese. So I think this is a fantastic book. We are donating the royalties of the book for scientific research. So that is one more reason to get the book, so that you don't die. All the money goes into research. Talking about these ideas and about books, what do you think are the most incredible things happening in experiments? Because I quote what David Sinclair is doing. David Sinclair is rejuvenating eyes in mice, in monkeys. So in terms of experiments and human clinical trials.
Yeah, I was just with Jerry, David's partner, in San Francisco a couple of days ago, so I heard what they are doing, and it's going much more than mouses and flies, so it's really growing exponentially. I think that a huge thing is area of psychedelics. Now Stanford is doing, Hopkins is doing a lot of studies, and there was a saying in old Greece, when you go to Eleusis, it was psychedelic city, where all of them were going. You're going to die before you die in order to achieve immortality. So I think that we all need to see what mortality is, and that's the reason we are preparing a study with Harvard and Buck Institute regarding with psychedelics and their effect on longevity. So I'm really excited about the whole field that was for decades forbidden.
Yeah, this is incredible. 20 years ago, there was maybe one news about longevity every month. Now it is every day. It is hard to follow all of this moving so fast. And you, Mike, because you also traveled so much, you know so much, you go to all these conferences, what do you see coming into human clinical trials?
So I'll probably, maybe kind of your original question, and I'll say 3 things. One of them a plug for humanity, one a plug for what Liz said, and one kind of one of our science advisors. So, I mean, the first is that I think the starting point always needs to be testing. So the more people we have on Earth that actually have tested their biological age, and collected more data on themselves, that's the starting point. And then you do stuff, and then you see if your biological age goes down. That circle needs to be wider. It needs to have more millions of people doing it. So humanity allows you to do that today. So that's one thing. The next thing was what Liz touched on is we're starting to get actual, because different jurisdictions have allowed for doing gene therapies, we're starting to get actual human data. So we can stop having these philosophical conversations and actually start looking at data, which I think anytime you go into a philosophical direction in one of these like policy debates, you should go back to the data and let's just actually use the data to decide whether, we want it to be safe, we want it to be effective. If it accomplishes that, then we should stop being like new technology, scary kind of conversations. The third one is, I think it's great that, so one of our science advisors is Kristen Fortenay, and so she has a drug going into phase 2, which is for sarcopenia, but basically it's to keep, as we get older, our muscles start to atrophy, and so a lot of us, unfortunately, have seen this with our grandparents and our parents. Your muscles start to atrophy, you stop moving as much, you have a fall, you break something, you stop moving altogether. It's this downward spiral that happens, unfortunately. And so her drug is actually getting closer and closer to being distributed out is, I think, will kind of open people's eyes to, oh, that thing we've been living with, we could just wipe it out with a drug kind of idea. So I'm excited for that.
Beautiful. And then I know, Liz Parrish, you are also doing some human clinical trials with Alzheimer's patients. Tell us about that, because that is one of the most horrible diseases.
Right, so we worked with an investigator-led study that happened outside of the US. We're a US company, so we cannot treat people before you reach out. But we can work with companies that do, and we assessed the data of 5 patients who had fully paid for gene therapies. And we saw increase in cognitive ability, and we saw benefits to their immune senescent cells. So that's really encouraging. So we're inheriting that study, and we're taking it to the US FDA to see if we can get it into clinical trials in the US. So we're excited about that.
This is fantastic. These human clinical trials are moving, but we have a lot of regulation also against some of these things happening. Let me open this to the public and also begin. Who would like to live to 100 years? Young. 100 years, young. Not 100 years old.
Or more.
No, let's go step by step.
Okay.
Now, 200 years.
Why not?
Okay, and then 200,000 years. The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. To go into space, we really need to live a long, long time because the universe is quite big. So let's take a couple of questions from the public. Please, if you raise your hand, we will have someone take the microphone to you. So raise a hand. You can do the live long and prosper symbol. Or we don't see from here because the lights are blinding us. But if there are no questions, then I will ask you a question. Do you think it's good to be alive, or it is good sometimes to be dead?
So just first, regarding the space, Odysseus, we know that it's actually accelerating aging, and that's a huge problem. So in order to become a multiplanetary civilization, we actually need to tackle longevity and aging. So it's a prerequisite for us to go beyond Earth. So it's, that is also emerging era where NASA is doing a lot of research today. But I think it's beautiful to be alive, especially when we feel vital. So not just being alive, being here in order to be here, but actually to be full of energy, be inspired, be creative, have the ability to inspire other people around us and awake that spark in the eyes and fire in the belly. And that is what is beautiful. And that is aliveness, because you can already be dead before you die. And that is the state of your mind and your gut.
Yeah, I totally agree. Being alive is like being in love. You have to tell your love partners, I love you so much more than yesterday, but less than tomorrow. So life has to be the same, like love, increasing. So how about you? Do you think it is good to be dead at any time?
Can I answer a different question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it's great to be alive. And I can say this because I joined the space, I would say, after Liz and some other, and Jose and a few other people. The cool thing I've seen over the last few years is So there used to be very much like longevity and health, right? And my prediction, another prediction is I think in 10 years we're not going to talk about longevity, we're just going to talk about health. But what's happened is longevity and all the frameworks, so like the chronic inflammation, you know, chronic inflammation leads to mutations, which leads to possibly cancer, or leads to non-functional parts of the body. That is actually starting to basically be the framework for health. And so you'll see that with, you know, all the greats, you know, pharma companies and everybody, like everybody's talking about chronic inflammation, they're talking about these different things. And so what we're going to see over the next few years is this: we can actually stop disease before it happens. We can actually, you know, live much longer healthy. We can be a healthy 100 years old. And we will be talking about that as health. And so I'm excited to see every single year actually the word longevity decrease a little bit, as we're just like, yeah, of course we're going to be healthy forever. Like, why was there ever a time where we didn't think that way? So
yes, that's a great answer. And Liz, also, quickly.
Oh, of course, it's great to be alive. And I just wanted to clarify a couple things, because somebody here didn't think aging was a disease, and I can understand why. So there is chronological aging, which is every year that you live, and we want you to get every year older. And then there's biological aging, which is cellular degeneration over time. So when we talk about aging as a disease, we're talking about biological aging. And like everyone said here, there are a lot of technologies and testing markers to now look and treat different parts of aging. So when you leave here and you start reading articles, I think that the most important thing is that you don't go into one camp. You don't just think senescent cell clearing is going to cure all of aging, or reprogramming, cellular reprogramming. We can take cells from an 80-year-old and make them embryonic, the same person. Or thinking that just telomeres are the way to cure aging. It's going to take all of these technologies, so please support all of the companies that are doing the work. This is not team sports. This is not Barcelona versus Madrid. This literally is your life. So that's the last thing I wanted to say.
Okay, I actually want, just to close up, a final thought from everybody. I will begin. There is never a good time to die, and especially not now that we are so close to immortality. We are between the last mortal generation and the first immortal generation. And I think you know where you have to be. Your final thought, Bruno.
I believe that biological transhumanism is what AI is going to help us with, and that actually AI is going to make us more humane.
Beautiful. Mike.
Every time you want to be healthier, measure yourself first, and then try the stuff that interests you, that you think is going to work, and then measure yourself again. Because only when we start all getting into that cycle are we actually going to head in a healthier direction. So.
And Liz, we close with you.
Science has already helped you live longer and healthier. We've extended the lifespan of the general population of almost every country, actually every country now on the planet. So I hope that you embrace the new technologies that will help you live longer and better.
Live long and prosper, my friends. Thank you.